Sonic, Knuckles, Shadow, and the character I'm going over today, Silver the Hedgehog, basically the Trunks of the Sonic Squad. Since we know that the comics and the games are their own thing, there's still a lot of similarities. Even if the stuff doesn't exactly go like the games, there's still a lot of similarities. Silver, like just the way he looks. Even his lore is similar to the video game lore of himself. The reason why I said he's similar to Trunks, because he's similar to Trunks with the fact he's a time traveler. Yep, this game pretty much confirms that there is time travel with this character, Silver. Of course, Silver is the one across time and space to pursue a mysterious attacker from an alternate reality. Stated here, he's a time traveler from 170 years in the future, came back in time. That's how he gets entangled with the characters we know. I mean, yeah, he's a hedgehog. That's his whole goal, is to try to stop the end of the world from ever occurring via time travel. That's his whole theme. Came back to your present to save my future. One of the legendary freedom fighters turns on the team and destroys them, dooming the future. That's what Silver was time traveling for, trying to figure out who was the traitor. Things like that. Believe it or not, this hedgehog technically does have a master. He's gone through training. Like, he literally says the words master. So yeah, his master even talks about Silver, talking about his power is limitless as your imagination, saying that his energy is what moves all matter. It is yours to guide and manipulate, like, you know, via training sessions and stuff. I mean, his master was this being, this elephant being, mammoth being, a being that stated that universes were mine to create or destroy. This being, this is important because this being is actually pretty powerful. He gained almost limitless power. You know, there's these things in this universe known as the Chaos Emeralds. Let's just say this guy is part of the reason why Silver's so strong, because look, this guy literally got fused with a Chaos Emerald that gave him superpower. It's their words, literally fused with a Chaos Emerald, granted him amazing powers, durability. You're probably thinking, what does this have to do with Silver? Because it's stated that his master taught him how to use his powers, saying he still has a lot to learn from him. This can give you some context on what the stuff you're going to see in this video and why Silver is so strong with his telekinesis and stuff. A lot of the characters in the Sonic universe, they have their own things they specialize in when it comes to powers and abilities and just their strengths and weaknesses and stuff. Silver is one of them beings that have stuff that's unique. Rather than just super speed, of course he has super speed too. Nobody really is slow in this universe. But yeah, he has super speed, but other unique stuff other characters don't necessarily have. Think of him like the energy projector of the group. Like, he's the telekinetic, or one could say just the psionic being of the group. I mean, think about it. When you're a telekinetic being, your whole environment is basically a character's weapon. When you can grab stuff from far away, Silver can be really creative with his telekinesis, making a giant fist of rock, you know, by putting it together with his telekinesis, using the earth itself against you in battle, in the heat of battle, stuff like that. He's just creative with his ability. Just like in the video games, it's no different in the comics. He can shoot energy blasts, psionic energy blasts, to create constructs like this little tornado-looking psionic junk to divert the blast back at him. Omnidirectional type of energy aura attacks he can do. Someone could say he has blast power. He can also use that psionic energy to put energy around himself, like a barrier to just legitly fly. True flight, all that energy he can blast out with. So yeah, he does have blast power, but he can also make a barrier to protect himself with that same energy. One can say he can use this psionic energy to amp his durability up. Not only make a shield, but yeah, he can make a shield around himself and others, and make it to where they make pockets of air so everybody can breathe good. In a lot of forms of fiction, usually when beings are psionic beings, they usually have some form of telekinesis and like mental telepathy type of stuff. Like, a lot of that stuff is psionic, stuff is related. But in Silver's situation, he says he's mostly telekinetic. He specializes in telekinesis rather than telepathy type stuff. But there's implications he is some sort of a telepath. Because when he was connected to this device that reminds me of Cerebro from Marvel Comics X-Men comic lore, he was able to free somebody from mind control because they say he's a psychic. One could say telepathy can be a form of super senses. I mean, when you have telepathy, you can kind of sense other beings as like thoughts. So it can kind of let you know who's nearby and stuff. Like in this particular occasion, he was meditating with this time stone and he was able to sense somebody from another time, another dimension entirely, telepathy type stuff. People that cross different zones, Sonic, they call zones realities and stuff. Also, this time stone is also the reason why he can time travel technically with Chronos control, this gear. We've even seen him block psychic attacks. That's not what he specializes in, but he can definitely do that kind of telepathic type stuff. You guys know it's a common theme in this universe to be able to move fast in a straight line. No, I'm talking about like straight line speed. These same beings can zigzag and react to stuff while moving at these super speeds. Silver is no exception to this type of stuff. We know his reflexes are fast too. He was able to kind of react to a super pissed off Sonic. You know, Sonic's already faster than the speed of light in this universe, so his eyes can see it. He can see him. Like, no, I'm not playing. Look how pissed he was. The cool thing about Silver is that he's a powerhouse in this universe, mainly because of his psionic abilities. I mean, he's not slow either, but he doesn't really need his speed to be considered a powerhouse. Like Sonic, for example, is the reason why Sonic is a powerhouse because of his raw speed. Silver doesn't necessarily need speed to be a powerhouse, just for how much power he can produce with his telekinesis alone, but he's not slow either. I'm going to bring speed back up a little bit later. I mean, his energy was described as limitless as your imagination, talking about energy is what moves all matter, and it is yours to guide and manipulate. That's why he's a powerhouse. I mean, we've seen him get out of some sticky situations, stuff that would take really good reaction time, like all these beings blasting at the same time. He avoided it. He reacted to it, flew away with speed, stuff like that. He's still fast, but yep, he carries these rings. It's a common Sonic theme for teleportation across vast distances. His telekinesis can grab and hold things that are concentrated life force. Can use his energy as a light source. His psychokinesis, it's literally stated on panel that it can dominate machinery. Let's analyze him, shall we? You know, he got his base form, then he got his golden super mode. It's, of course, when the main cast people get powered up by these super emeralds, but he's one of those characters, he doesn't need these things to be necessarily a powerhouse. So for right now, I'm not really going to focus on this. I want to focus on his base state because his base state is still a beast, but just to give you a brief overrun of super forms, this kind of applies for all the characters, not just Silver. So everybody has like their different super forms. You know, Super Sonic, Chaos Emeralds, Super Silver can technically get a form like this, but he's one of those characters we actually never really get to see him in this form in this Archie universe. We've seen it happen in the games. It should be the similar concept to what happens to him in games when he gets powered up. They even says it increases the individual's innate talent while granting flight, even though he already had flight. He gets invulnerability. The only downside is that the effects don't last forever. When it comes to raw strength, that's not something he specializes in. He doesn't really need it when you're a psionic being, but we see him lift up all this debris that's literally about the height size of himself, so it lets you know his physicals. Telekinetically, there's no surprise he can lift up beings that are bigger than him with his telekinetic ability, lifting them up in the air. Even larger things like these tentacles he can halt. You're probably wondering how strong is the telekinesis though? Like how much can he lift with his telekinesis? That's probably what you really want to know. Look at this structure he can lift. The stone, it appears to be stone he can lift. We've seen him toss rocks here. Lightweight projectiles, we've seen him freeze in place and push him back. He will literally throw trash cans at you. You got occasions like this with these big old boulder-like things. He can just push away. He can full-blown lift up vehicles or cars. So that means he can lift several tons. Did you have any doubt he can lift at least a ton or 2 tons? Who doesn't believe he can lift 2 tons though? I mean, there's even clear implications that he can lift over hundreds of tons. I mean, big chunks of buildings he can just rip off like this. Looks like a couple stories at least he can just rip off. Like it ain't nothing with his telekinesis. You guys know how floors of buildings can weigh. They can get kind of heavy, more than 2 tons. I mean, all this weight he can lift, he can make shields with his energy, and all this kind of stuff kind of goes for his blast power. I mean, lifting it up is kind of like a form of blast power because he's blasting it upwards. You know what I mean? He's pushing a lot of force upward. So it's like lifting it up is kind of like blast power. Like in this occasion, he literally lifted up a big chunk of a tower. So it lets you know there's implications he can lift over hundreds of tons. So him having the strength or blast power to lift up tanks shouldn't come as no surprise, honestly. In this occasion, it's implied he can literally lift up entire buildings, which can be hundreds of thousands or 200s of thousands of tons. He can rip up stuff like this and throw it with his telekinetic power. And Silver technically can lift up 2 chunks of a big chunks of buildings. I mean, it's all but confirmed that he can lift over hundreds of thousands of tons with his raw telekinetic power or blast power because it's literally claimed that he can move mountains with his mind, telekinesis, which further adds on the fact that he should be able to lift at least hundreds of thousands of tons. This is technically being disrespectful. He should be able to lift over hundreds of thousands or even 200,000 of tons. It's a little hard to understand what their universe version of mountains will be, since their universe or world is or planet is different from our Earth, so their version of mountains could be different. But just to give you an idea of what mountains are in real life, this could kind of give you an idea of Silver's lifting power, considering that even some of the smallest mountains can weigh over 200,000 of tons. And it's stated mountains, aka with an S, implying more than one. So yeah, hundreds of thousands of tons, 200,000 of tons. Sounds realistic. I mean, we know mountains out here that can be billions of tons. So if he can really lift mountains, he can not only lift hundreds of thousands of tons, but even millions of tons. Sounds fair of him being able to lift. Because they said he can lift mountains, aka more than one. If his telekinesis can really move mountains, billions of tons is definitely in the equation as well. What do you think? Do you think he can really lift billions of tons with his telekinesis? By the time this video ends, you probably are going to believe that's a joke. So bare minimally a billions of tons. Yeah. I mean, we literally seen Silver battle beings that literally have no problem throwing entire islands at him, and he has to withstand this type of stuff. Talking about, did you just hit me with an island? Lifting billions of tons is totally believable when you realize how many main characters we've seen him just stop in the middle of their fighting, knowing how powerful each one of these beings are. I mean, if we're being honest, in this universe, based on how powerful Sonic is, him just simply stopping Sonic from blitzing him is actually more impressive than lifting billions of tons or moving mountains. This may not seem like this is more impressive than moving mountains, but considering how mighty, how hard Sonic can hit in this Archie universe, this is actually more impressive than lifting billions of tons. Because of the raw energy or pressure Sonic can exert with his raw speed ramming into you, and he's able to stop these blitzes with his raw power. I mean, everybody knows this, man. He's up there with the main cast. We see him toss Sonic here. halted all these beings in place. That's Shadow over there, alternate reality version of Sonic, hits him that hard so it does that to the beam and Sonic is kind of staggered. All this stuff is more impressive than moving mountains. Metal Amy, he stops. They may not look like nothing, but trust me, based on how mighty these beings are, this stuff is way more impressive. This guy breaking out of your grip isn't really disrespectful or nothing, but the fact he was able to temporarily hold him is, I would say, respectable. And this is a being that's literally confirmed to be able to move continents. I mean, he's facing off against beings like this. So lifting mountains and stuff, they're facing foes that can move continents. Silver should be able to move things way bigger than mountains. There's nothing wrong with Silver getting overpowered by this Jack being, because he's literally fighting super forms, beings that have 7 Chaos Emeralds. This is essentially kind of what's going on here. Like, Silver's basically fighting beings that are equivalent to super form versions of himself. Obviously, he's not as strong, but the fact he still can hang with super form powered up leveled beings is absurd. Oh, just a friendly reminder for those that forget how strong these super forms are when it comes to how hard they can punch. So Continental stuff, that should just be out of the question. Like, we're talking about super forms that can bend space and time, warp reality of the dimension they're in, and cause the dimensional walls to crack and make the dimension explode. These super forms can punch so hard, an entire universe can break. Not just continents being moved. So Silver can move continents too. In his base state, he's fighting beings that are basically equivalent to super forms that can cause dimension destruction. Him stating that super formed level being can move continents is an oversimplification. Base form characters can more than likely do that. Silver could definitely, based on his performances with these super form beings, being disrespectful considering the super forms can destroy entire universes, but I'm being disrespectful right now. Silver in his base state, hanging with beings that can destroy the universe in his base state, even a little bit, should by default be able to easily move continents. So all that building leveling stuff was just the tip of the iceberg. He should technically be able to, with his blast power, be able to shake an entire city, hit with nuclear bomb type force, lift up an entire city with ease, even things way bigger or structures bigger than buildings. He should have no problem trembling based on his occasional Jack. He shouldn't have no problem quaking at least one continent, multiple slightly moving continents with his raw blast power or telekinetic power in general, you know, continental type stuff. Because it is stated this being right here, he's faced off against that in his base state. A being that can move continents. In his base state, he's dragging this being that would give super forms issues. Like, he's doing all this in his base state without even using his super form. This can give you an idea of his raw blast power or his telekinetic strength, tossing this guy around like this with his blast power. Hit him with an island this time, he says. Matter of fact, there's even times with his psionic ability when he's trapped by this being, and we've actually seen him break out of his hold to show that he has to be a powerhouse to break out of the hold of a being that can literally move continents. We know these battle beings that can destroy universes. I'm just trying to give you more evidence on why moving continents shouldn't be that hard for them. Like, you know, they're way above continental. We literally see him break out of it with a telekinetic power. This being that be given super forms issues said this about Silver. He called his power marvelous, even though it pales in comparison to us. It's the fact that this being be fighting super forms, guys, and he's impressed, even though everybody agrees that Silver's below him. Silver is constantly impressing this being that can give supersonic or super form mode issues. Even stating on this example, such power, where does it come from? It is stated that his powers can't compete with chaos energy. He's constantly impressing beings that are super form level. I mean, we've seen Silver with his shields and stuff like that, his durability, being able to withstand hits from these powerful beings that have the raw power to battle super modes. For these people to not be getting one-shotted by this super powerful being, this is impressive. Silver, not dead from a being that's up there with super modes. Like, it's even stated he can't match this being power for power, but he's been going at it the wrong way. That's where he comes up with a strategy to use his own power against him. Like, this is kind of impressive still to be able to reflect his own attacks back at him. That's kind of impressive, even though he admitted he's weaker than him. Part of this is battle IQ, and part of this is that, yeah, he does have a lot of blast power, even though this being has his advantage over him. A being that triumphed over Supersonic, he instead uses his energy telekinetic power to hit him with his own blast. Alternate universe versions of Sonic that are super moded, like I'm talking about super forms. Like, you see the way he looks right here? You see this page with the super forms? Yeah, it's literally talked about Super Scourge. Even though he's powered up by other stuff, it lets you know that it's kind of like the same concept, super mode. They're in the same category with super, like, these are super modes. Silver is in his base state. And we've seen Silver temporarily hold beings, just temporarily. They're still stronger. But the fact that he can temporarily hold them for a bit is pretty impressive, even though there's a large power gap. These super forms can destroy planets, because we know they can do that. He temporarily held this being down, super mode like this. It was tough to contain such a being. Even Silver started struggling. The super form eventually broke out. There's nothing wrong with that, considering this super form right here literally has statements of being able to spin dash both planets in half, which is totally believable because we've seen super forms do stuff like this. So yeah, destroying the planet is definitely believable. Like even him doing this temporarily against a super form, I think this is already proof that he can do planet busting stuff. Just doing this for 2 seconds against a super form, leveling multiple continents, or the potency of his blast being able to level multiple continents or tremble them definitely seems believable. Or you can look at it like this: if a super form can destroy a planet, we know they can do way more. I'm being disrespectful. If you don't want to assume Silver can do that too, what about a smaller planetoid like the moon? That's reasonable, because that's still a lot smaller than the Earth. Smaller planetoids like the moon, his base state should at least be able to hold down a super mode for temporarily like this. Of course, he's not stronger than it, but that still should automatically put him in planetoid ranges, shaking ranges, moon splitting ranges, that kind of stuff. I mean, he's competing with these beings in his base state. First of all, there's legit beings out here, like different wizards. Like there's all kinds of different powerful beings in this universe. There's beings that be creating entire zones, aka a reality or universe. You know how zone and reality is the same thing in this universe. There's this being, his name is right here, the creator of this zone or universe, reality. He's a being that uses dark magics. That's why I said fighting these beings is more impressive. This being has this kind of blast power, or he can produce this kind of energy with his magic, and Silver was able to blast his blast back at him. Silver pretty much saying he's dealt with worse. Silver just countering attacks from wizard beings. This wizard that he repelled attacks from created his own dimension or zone, universe, reality, implying Silver's literally dealing with a universal entity or type of threat, and he's repelling his attacks backwards at him, doing stuff like this. I'm gonna get back to that stuff in 2 seconds. I don't want you guys to forget how fast this guy is. The fact that characters like Sonic, when he's super pissed off, cannot blitz him. His eyes still can see him and react to him. So I'll let you know his reflexes. Yes, look how pissed he looks. Like he's hyper pissed, literally. And he's able to react to these type of beings. Sonic and his universe bare minimally in his base state. Even if we assume that Sonic got the speed advantage, which we all agree with, Sonic is known for speed. Silver isn't slow. I've already mentioned in this video that straight line speed and zigzagging speed or reflexes, combat speed is different. Sonic is both. When it comes to straight line speed and reflexes, he's both. And he's faster than faster than lightning, over hundreds of thousands of miles per hour. Just from him being able to react to Sonic, that means by default, he has to be able to react to things moving faster than 100,000 miles per hour coming at him. Sonic is the type of being that has to react to stuff consistently, like particle beams. This right here pretty much proves Sonic is a bare minimum at least light speed. Like right here, he says double the speed of light. So even if we assume Silver was half Sonic speed, that would still be light speed, proving that Silver's reaction time can react to things moving at light speed. Silver can react to beings that can move 2 times the speed of light. And then you got occasions that makes this even seem like a joke when it comes to speed, which proves that Silver has to be way faster than the speed of light. I mean, there's 2 ways you can take this like statement right here. People or the writers talk about how Sonic is fast enough to visit all the planets in the universe, even the ones we don't know about yet, and still be home in time for dinner. If we assume that their universe was finite, aka a universe that's limited, we're being disrespectful. Let's assume the universe is limited. This would still be massively faster than the speed of light by billions, trillions, and stuff like that, if we assume that universe is finite. But technically, being able to move or go to an infinite amount of places in the universe, because there's apparently infinite galaxies in the universe, in the Sonic universe, this would imply that Sonic can move at infinite speed. If we were to assume this universe is actually like limitless, like the lore says, because it's talked about how their world has an endless variety of realities, infinite galaxies housing countless worlds. They talk about how traversing their place of infinity. They talk about here, countless planets. You know, there's 2 ways you can take it. You can take it whether Sonic actually can visit an infinite amount of places in a finite amount of time. That would be infinite speed. Or you can take it as he can visit all the planets in a observable universe, unlimited universe. That would still be way faster than the speed of light. Silver, by default, being able to react to Sonic when he's super pissed, he has to be a bare minimally way faster than 2 times the speed of light. He would have to be able to react or move over billions of times faster than the speed of light. If we was really to truly assume that he is somewhere in the ballpark of Sonic, somebody that can traverse an infinite space in a finite amount of time or a limited amount of time, that would technically be infinite speed, right? What do you think, though? I mean, Silver has to be somewhere in the ballpark to be able to see Sonic move at these speeds without ever getting blitzed. Now, when we really dig deep into talking about super forms, Silver has very little screen time in his super form. This form can do everything he can previously do, but better. Technically, if we go off this statement, thousands of times better. Thousands of times more blast power, thousands of times faster. You see this stuff that he's powered by? Super Silver doesn't really have no screen time, but he can transform into this via Chaos Emeralds. 1 Chaos Emerald has the raw energy within it that it can accidentally create universes and stuff like that by accident, a whole different creation of a new zone. Oh yeah, it's literally confirmed like the different zones are different realities, different versions of the same characters. You know, stated here that the infinite energy of a Chaos Emerald. Yeah. Did I fail to mention that these super forms give these characters basically reality warping and stuff like that too? And this should apply for Silver too. All them different versatile abilities plus what he already has. So not only can these super forms easily destroy planets or blast them apart, super forms, Silver included, is powered by stuff that can literally create whole new zones or universes or dimensions or realities. And I want you guys to remember only one emerald is needed to create a universe or possibly destroy. You see how powerful these things are? Super Silver is technically powered by more than one. You see? These beings can destroy universes or a universe bare minimally because one emerald can do it via reality warping or just straight punches. Like, you know, this is not Silver in this particular situation. This should apply for Silver too. Super forms, it's the same thing, same concept. These forms can clash with one another, blow up whole dimensions or zones, realities, a whole reality explodes. This should apply for Silver, same form, same power source, blah, blah, blah. With just energy projection, reality warping, or just straight punches, they can obliterate a whole zone or reality with punches, which would technically mean Silver in his super state should easily be able to destroy multiple planets, the whole solar system, large planets, even galaxies. All that stuff should be able to fall to his might like this. This can kind of give you an idea of Silver's base, because we know this form is 1,000 times stronger than his base. And what's 1,000 times weaker than the power needed to punch apart a whole dimension? Yeah, you guessed it. The power to basically quake multiple galaxies. I mean, the universe is vast. This is being disrespectful. If we're being disrespectful, assuming the universe is finite, which is not, and these zones are finite, an observable universe is still a ridiculous large amount of galaxies. If we assume them zones are similar to that, even being thousands of times weaker than Universal, because Silver's base form is thousands of times weaker in all ways, that would still be enough power to quake galaxies or delete a whole bunch of galaxies still. You see how it doesn't really matter? Even though the super form's a lot stronger, once you get so strong, being 1,000 times weaker is still impressive. And I'm being disrespectful because I'm assuming the super form only has one emerald. One emerald can create a whole universe. More than one, it's even higher. You see what I'm saying? Multiversal powers in his super state. No matter how you lowball it, his base state would still be ridiculous, even being astronomically weaker. Not to mention we've seen him fight super form tier beings in the same video. So just by default, quaking small planets, destroying smaller planets, quaking the Earth, destroying the Earth, even planets bigger than the Earth, the beings he's fighting, universe-threatening beings, destroying multiple planets shouldn't really be no problem with his blast power. His blast should be as potent as this kind of stuff. The weight of his blast should be able to destroy these planets. You get the idea. Yeah, this Sonic universe in the Archie is really layered. Like, there'd be like gateways to different unknown zones or dimensions of universes that have physical matter. But let's take it even farther when it comes to his super form. Some assumptions are fair, like assuming that these two are similar in their super forms being powered up. That's similar when it comes to destructive power. That's a reasonable assumption, considering just like in the games, the comics kind of mimic some of the stuff that happened in the game, kind of sort of when it comes to events. Like Sonic had to go super mode, they had the shared power to defeat a common threat together equally in different parts of history, so they had to do a team up thing. They had to take on this transcendental being, a being that was multiversal, a thing that was threatening multiple realities in the game. The comics kind of imply they had to go through these similar events facing the same beings like Solaris, because in the comics it's implied this same being exists. They're kind of mimicking the games and certain concepts. So yeah, we kind of can establish they're similar in power when they're in the super forms. They got the same power source. It's because of these emeralds that these beings were able to do this Genesis wave, rewrite the whole and totality of reality. That's how you know these things have ridiculous amounts of power to reshape everything. Like, we've literally seen emeralds be used for crazy things. These emeralds were responsible and the reason why Eggman and them was able to try to redo 2 universes, Sonic's universe and Mega Man's in this situation. So if a universe gets wiped out, being powered up by these emeralds, Supersonic, this should apply for Super Silver too, to be able to remake this reality, undo everything they did by creating an energy ball to recreate everything. So it lets you know they can literally remake the universe with their super forms. So it just letting you know, like when it comes to universal scaled stuff, they can recreate universes with this energy. This should apply for Silver too. It's proven they can do it because Mega Man, when he was powered up, he can do it, recreated his own universe. Not to mention there's beings out here that has used the Chaos Emeralds to rewrite all universes and all creation, guys. Implying not one just universe is in jeopardy, not just 2, not just 3, but apparently all universes. Just to let you know that this, like, yeah, alternate universes, endless variety of realities, countless worlds, infinite galaxies housing countless worlds. You see what I'm saying? This multiverse seems to be ridiculously wide, infinite universes, each universe being infinite in size. You're telling me you can use Chaos Emeralds to devastate all universes? And this is what Super Silver, Super Sonic, and the Super characters are powered by, like these emeralds like this. All these different versions of the same characters, like a Batman Sonic here, universes, even a Spider-Man Sonic. Yep, infinite amount of universes these super forms could potentially devastate. Whether we're talking about Super Sonic or Super Silver, it's the same concept basically. Because his super form can devastate apparently an infinite amount of universes being powered up by a whole bunch of chaos or 7 chaos emeralds. That's the kind of devastation this thing can produce. And if he's 1,000 times weaker, wouldn't that still be infinite universe shaking type power still? What do you think? He's a powerhouse no matter how you look at it. And how strong do you think Silver is? What do you think his blast power is? He's a psionic being that can match super forms, kind of, sort of, even though he gets overpowered. But then his super forms are powered by stuff that can devastate the multiverse. You know, each gem having infinite power, one gem having the power to destroy a universe or create a universe. Silver fighting wizard beings that create their own zones or dimensions or universes. I'm curious to hear you guys' opinions. Did you know Silver was this crazy? Yeah, these Archie characters get kind of crazy. Respect them. But thanks for the donations, everybody. Respect Silver the Hedgehog and Archie. I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.